Hi guys, this is Omega1 and today I'm going to do another deck profile. It's been a while since I've done any Yu-Gi-Oh videos. I have got some plans for any Yu-Gi-Oh videos in the future, but the reason for this is because I was out of Yu-Gi-Oh for quite a while now, but now I'm back into it. I've got new decks, new ideas, and new videos to come up. But for today, I'm going to show you guys another Dark World deck. Now you might say, Dark World, we've already seen this shit, but you haven't, because this is a new version. Well, this is a different Dark World version. This is a Dark World anti-meta build. So it utilizes a lot of anti-meta cards, but also something quite unique, namely it uses elemental hero cards. But will actually technically mask hero cards, but you'll see about that later. I'll just go into the deck and explain how it kind of works. So, of course it's Dark World, so we need our staples. We need our triple Grapha, we need our triple Snow, oh shit. We need our triple Brow, and one Beige. These are the only Dark World monsters you play in the main deck. Now, in my other deck, I played this, plus I think a Silver and a Gold. Now, I think it's not necessary in this build. This is an anti-meta build. You only want to just be able to spam Grapha. So, Grapha is your boss monster, Snow is and Brow are consistency. This Beige is basically utility and making it easier to spam double Grapha late game and just get general, like, advantage out of your cards. So Silva and Gold would be quite dead, I think. There's no reason you'd play those. You've got enough beating power out of Grapha anyway, so I think this is a very solid, very workable engine. Next, we play 3 utility cards. We play Trance Archfiend, Tour Guide of the Underworld, and Skarm. So Trance Archfiend, I used not to be, before I wasn't a fan of Trance Archfiend because there was always the discussion Trance Archfiend or Fabled Raven. And I always picked Fabled Raven because it can spam a lot of discards, and it's a tuner and it gets attack, so it's a really strong card. But I think that Trance Archfiend works much better in this build, because, as I said, you don't have Silver or Gold, so spamming discards isn't as necessary as it used to be. And the fact that you can get back a banished card is so useful, especially in this deck, especially in the meta where you can, where banishing is really present and stuff. So Trance Archfiend is a great utility card and replaces Raven. Tour Guide is stable, but something rather new is Skarm. So Skarm has the effect that when it's sent to the graveyard during end phase, you can search out either Tour Guide or Brow, which is really useful because you can only play one Tour Guide now, and being able to search it out really makes it consistent. And I noticed that I could go into Tour Guide much more than I used to, even though I can only play one Tour Guide. And also it activates when being discarded. It works with Foolish Burial. It's really a really great card. So this is just a simple lineup of utility cards. So that's the monsters. That's not a lot of monsters, but that's what we're used to in Dark Worlds. You don't need a lot of monsters. You have a lot of draw power and stuff, and you recycle your Grapha a lot. So yeah. So for the spells, again, we're going to go for the staples. Gates and triple dealings. This is quite staple, nothing much to say about this. Some people like to play 2 dealings, but I've talked about this in my original Dark World video. I prefer 3 dealings, I think it's a really useful card. So yeah, that's just like it used to be. Now something slightly different from my original Dark World video. Instead of 2 drag down, I played 3 drag down. And that is basically because, again, we're playing anti-meta, and drag down first turn is such a good play because you can ruin your opponent very, very easily. And it works much better in this deck because you have some other cards like Mind Crush that really devastate your opponent. And I think Drag Down into Grave is one of the best reasons this deck is playable, because Drag Down is like a card that is so useful, as I said. But yeah, very stable. So this is where it gets a little weird. So we're playing double Mask Change 2. So why are we playing Mask Change? Well, that's because we're playing Mask Hero Dark Law. Now, even though the discarding cost is like a cost, so it won't activate your Dark World effect, but that doesn't matter because you can either send like a Skarm or something, or you can actually send a Grapha, and sure, you won't get its effect, but especially if it's the first turn, it might be just useful to just put it in the graveyard and just bounce back in Dark World instantly. And Dark Law works so goddamn well in this deck. It's really great because you have coverage from everything. But I might talk about that more if I get to Dark Law itself. So next up, we've got a little more draw power, Lure of Darkness, something that I didn't use to play my original build, but I'm now positive that this is a really great card in this deck. You've got a lot of dark fodder cards. I mean, you can always banish like a Brow or something. This is a really great card. I love Lure of Darkness. Next up, Foolish Burial. This is quite simple. This is just for easy Graphis spamming, very simple. And actually sending other stuff too for gates is also very useful. And then double MSD, we only need double. I mean, I haven't got the space for a third one, and I think double MSD is more than enough. The third one won't make that much of a difference. So because you already play a lot of strong staple cards, so yeah. That's the spells. That's quite an average spell lineup. I think it's about the same number that I had in my original build, I think. I have to check about that, but sure. I play quite some traps, as is usual with Dark Worlds. Starting off with triple Reckless Greed. Also quite a staple in Dark Worlds. Works really well. You draw a lot of cards. Works really well if you get multiples of them. And what I like about Reckless Greed... Sorry, I bumped the camera. What I like about Reckless Greed is that it's such a good MST substitute. So what I mean is, like, you set 3 cards or something where there's at least one Reckless Greed, that's less chance that your opponent will hit something that is actually worth hitting. Because if they hit, like, a Reckless Greed, you can just chain it and they just lost their MST. So that's really what I like about Reckless Greed. And it scares your opponent a lot if you have, like, a lot of sets, even though there's a lot of, like, fodder in here. But it's a really great card. So next, we're playing in main double Mind Crush, and I'm gonna go through the entire like anti-meta lineup because this is where it gets really anti-meta. 1 Dark Smog, 1 Skill Drain, and 1 Vanity's Emptiness. So Mind Crush is really obvious actually because it's quite of a staple actually in Dark World anyways. I used to only play it inside because it's really good against decks that fetch a lot. But now in the current metagame, Mind Crush and just searching in general is very, very present. And that's why it's so good. And discarding a random card is also nice once in a while, but you don't really use it that much for that. It's especially for the searching. And of course, that's also why we play triple Drag Down, because like activating Drag Down and then seeing your opponent has 2 cards, 2 like doubles in his hand is so great because you use Mind Crush on the card that he has 2 of, and then he has to discard both of them. So that's really, really good. That's really good. Dark Smog is also a very good card. Being able to discard a card and banish something from the graveyard is really useful because banishing from the graveyard, very, very good in metagame. Good against Fire Kings. Good in Mirror Match also. This deck is actually quite good in a Mirror Match. So yeah. It's really a really good card. I was a fan of it before, and as I said, I used to play it in my side deck, but now I'm basically playing like a blend of my side deck and my main deck, and I think it works much better because being able to get like that win first match in a tournament, because if you play Skill Drain, which is also an awesome card, it's really great. Skill Drain, Vanity's Emptiness, quite obvious cards. You get rid of Vanity's Emptiness quite easily on your own turn because you can send so much stuff so easily. And Skill Drain is quite a staple in this deck. It just ruins decks like no other. And then we're playing some staples just for some more support. You know, the typical 4 staples. Nothing to say about this. Next for the extra deck is quite generic, but I'll still go over it anyways. So for rank 3s, we're playing Wind Up Zenmaines, Ghostrick Alucard, and Levier. So Zenmaines, I love Zenmaines in this deck. That's basically the card you go into when you get first turn Tour Guide. Really great, solid card. Ghostrick Alucard, really great utility to get rid of stupid, annoying face down cards. And Levier is such an awesome card in terms of comboing because you banish quite a lot. You've got gates and stuff, so it's really a really great card. For rank 4s, we're playing quite a heavy lineup. So first of all, number 80 Rhapsody and Berserk. Then we've got Gaga Cowboy, Black Sheep of Corn, Abyss Dweller, Castle, yeah, 1-1, and Exile Knight. As you can see, very typical utility setup. Nothing to say about that. You can go into rank 4s quite easily with Bage and just normal summoning of. I mean, like Bage and Trance Archfiend is just a rank 4 Xyz in your hand like that. So you can go into it quite easily, but for the rest you don't really rely on it too much, which is also really great. Then we're playing 3 rank 8s. We're playing Divine Dragon Knight Felgrand, Heliopolis, and Alcei. Felgrand is just OP. It's just like Forbidden Lands and Effect Veiler in one in a quick effect. It's OP. I love this card. It's such a great card. Heliopolis is actually surprisingly good. You don't get the effects because it's the cost of discarding, but you know, it's always great. And Alcei is also quite a good utility card. Again, these, especially like Alcei, they're quite conditional, but in sometimes having that one weird like rogue rank 8 can really change like the result of the game. And then the last 2 slots are for drumrolls, Masked Hero Dark Law. So this card is awesome. First of all, I love the art of Masked Hero Dark Law, but I mean that has nothing. It's not like you can play better, but anyways, I love the art. That's one thing. Secondly, I love its effect, of course. Of like again, if your opponent tries to search anything out, you can just banish it with Dark Law, and that goes really great with Mind Crush because your opponent can simply not search stuff easily against this deck because they search something, Dark Law. They search something else, Mind Crush. So it's really great. And for the rest, of course, the Macrocosmos effect is also really great. In the mirror match, really strong and stuff. You know, it speaks for itself, Dark Law. A bit of a shame that it hasn't got that much attack and that it's not a fiend. It's obvious because it's well, masked hero, so that's why it's a warrior. But it would have been great if it was a fiend, because 27 attack would have been much better. But you know, I can't complain. It's a really great card. It works really great. It has a really great surprise aspect actually, because your opponent just sees like Dark World with like slightly anti-meta, and they're like sure, and then you suddenly drop the Mask Change 2, and just the look on their face is awesome. So this is a really great card. So this is a deck profile. I hope you guys loved it. I really like this deck. It plays really well. I'm happy with it, and I love the idea that you have a random Masked Hero in Dark World. It seems so weird, but it works really well. Again, I really recommend you guys making this deck. It's really easy to make if you already got some Dark World cards lying around. It doesn't need much more than the original like staple cards. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Omega One signing out.